Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone is having a great day today. Today, we're going to go over my top 7 shortstops for a longer term investment here. And, the theory behind this. So, anyways, Chaz Cards, hi. The home of questionable advice and even worse production value. So, what we're looking for is the top 5 shortstops or top 7 shortstops that are on a kind of a Hall of Fame track. And when you're buying anything, you want it to be in demand and have that demand as long as possible. The more people that want it, the more the value at least holds, if not rises. And with baseball cards, what you're looking for is people that make the Hall of Fame. They're always going to be in the conversation, and they're always going to be in demand. And if you can pick those guys correctly, then you don't have to worry about your cards taking an absolute tank at the end of their career when no one wants them anymore. So the Hall of Fame, there's 24 guys in the Hall of Fame. So the guys that we're looking at today, there's no guarantee any of them gets in. There's a long way to go for all of them. There's questions about all of them, and it's just unlikely that more than one or two really make it. So kind of spread your risk around just a little bit here. But the guy that's got the highest WAR and is in the Hall of Fame is Honus Wagner with 130, and Alex Rodriguez 117 is next, not in, but there's still demand because if the people that blew their head up a few sizes taking steroids start to make it, then he's going to be one of the first guys in. So then you have other players that are not in, and they could be in the conversation, but for the most part, you should be able to get their cards relatively cheaply. So you're looking at like Nomar Garciaparra, Miggy Tejada, and Choi Tulowitzki. These were elite players at their prime, but injuries kind of robbed them. So a lot can happen here, and you just need to take this with a grain of salt for the most part. But we'll do the best we can to identify value if we can here. So starting off at number 7. Oh, all right, here we go. Is Xander Bogaert. So shortstop for the Boston Red Sox. 28 years old, has accumulated 26 WAR thus far in his career, and needs to average 4.8 WAR the rest of the way to age 35. And that's when skills kind of drop off a little bit. So that's why I use the age 35, and 60 is kind of the number that you should be in consideration. There's a lot of other things that need to happen, but that's just what I'm going with here. So he's got a top 10 MVP vote. He's got a couple of All-Star games. His 2014 Topps card can be had in PSA 10 for roughly $40. You can get it raw for a lot cheaper. So again, needs to average 4.8 WAR the rest of the way, and he's been able to do that. That's been him, even with a year in 2018, his offense was terrific, and his defense has been pretty good. But 23 home run guy with a 280 average, can he average that the rest of the way to be in the conversation? I think he can, because he, in 2019 was a monster year for him, so he's proven he can do a little bit better. And that 4.8, well, that's kind of been that's kind of been him. And so can he do a little bit better now and then kind of slide into that? I think there's a solid chance. So his BABIP is a high BABIP guy. He's got a good average, 1,000 hits on his career. And so can he at least double that over the next 8 years? Basically what you're asking him to do is be the guy that he's already been, to be in that conversation. Will help to get to some more top 10 MVP finishes and all that kind of good stuff. But he is certainly on the track, and at $40, his price seems relatively fair compared to the other guys on this list that we'll go over right now. So number 6 is Gleyber Torres, shortstop for the New York Yankees, and this is mostly a function of him being young. He's 23 years old. He's got about roughly 6 WAR to his name. He's had a kind of a lower BABIP guy, so his average does have room to rise a little bit. You can see in the playoffs he was kind of nuts. 553 BABIP and huge average, and so that's kind of what happens when things regress. Can he be what he was in 2018, bring that BABIP up in that average? So he should be around a 300 guy. So I would expect a little bit of improvement out of him next year, especially if he gets the Orioles back on the schedule again. So big home run guy the first couple of years, not so much this year. Really fell off the wagon. So 106 weighted runs created, so just above average. He's been approaching elite the previous 2 years here, but he hasn't really put up these huge WAR numbers. And for a guy that needs to average 4.5 WAR over the next decade plus, he hasn't done it yet. And so his price right now, his 2018 Update Series card, is $55. And it is trending down a little bit here, and I have a quick graph for you here. So he had the uptrend with everything else, and you can see in August when everything kind of peaked, broke that uptrend, and now he's in a pretty defined downtrend. Coming up to an area where there's been accumulation before, and so it wouldn't surprise me if you start to see a little bit of buying in his card. And if he gets to around $40, then I'm in as well. I've got kind of what I want, but I'll get the high grade example if it drops down to $40 here. But this seems like an area where there's going to be some accumulation overall. So I think that I would prefer to pay more of that Xander Bogaerts $40 level for him because he hasn't really done it yet. So there's speculation that he's going to do more, and that's how that's how it goes sometimes. So. That he's my number 6 player. Number 5 is Carlos Correa, who, without a trash can, had a terrible season this year. His weighted runs created, he's been a above average, borderline elite player, and this year is a below average player. So you know what? For me, prove it. Hi, Mr. Beast. Prove it, and then I'll be a little bit more interested in his card. His 2015 update card is $40. So he's in that range with where I think Glaber should maybe be and where Xander is, and I need to see a little bit more, I think, before I do anything with that. Number 4 is Mr. Corey Seager. He's been a really good player. So he's 26 years old with 20 WAR already, which is a pretty good number. Derek Jeter was at about 19 WAR at age 25, so he's right there. He's got a couple of monster seasons under his belt, 6-7 WAR seasons already, and he was hurt for a little bit. So if he can come back healthy, and this year was another incredible year. His NLCS and his World Series MVP, not helping his prices for people that want to buy cheaply, but he's got a relatively stable BABIP. He doesn't strike out at a huge clip, which I like to see. I like to see those walks come up just a little bit, but really he's on track. This year just kind of, he got the spotlight a little bit. He was cheap for a long time, and this year it really exploded. So he needs a 4.4 or annualized. He's got a top 10 MVP finish. He's got a couple All-Star games under his belt. His 2016 tops is going to run you $75 in a PSA 10. I might wait on that one before getting a high grade example if that's the route I decide to go. The raws are probably fine. Those are $10-15. I think they could come down a little bit, but this is a guy that may not give you that chance. He's really he swings the bat well when he's healthy, and if he's goes into 2020 with this momentum and his health, he may not give you a chance to get back in. So I don't like that $75 price for him right now. But he might not have a choice, so I apologize for that. But his raws are still attainable. You could see it go up to $20-$25 if he has another year or two where he's this, and then people are going to take that track very, very seriously. So number 3, I'm getting into the top 3 here. So Bichette, and he's a young player, and so a lot of this is based on his age, where he's 22 years old, just turning 23 at the start of next season here, and he's put up a couple of WAR here. So I would like to say it's more speculative, but with the hype around him, he's not going to be priced like that. Unfortunately, he hasn't done much in the wins above replacement area yet here, but he's a hitter. He's got a great swing. He's a hitter. Some home runs in a partial season in 2019, and the strikeout rate's a little high, the walk rate's a little bit low, but his average, he hits a little higher BABIP, but he's always had that, and he can probably maintain that for a period of time. His 2019, his 2020 Series 1 card and a PSA 10, and there's not a lot out there, is going to run you $65. So let's take a look at Bichette. It is came in out of the gates gangbusters. Some people bought the highs, and then you started to see more accumulation in that $80 area. You had that nutty spike with everything else, and then the prices kind of drifted lower. So as long as it continues to drift lower, if it gets into that $40-$50 range, I'm going to be really interested. But as soon as it pops out of this, then you're going to see that move back up to the $80-$100 level. If he does well next year, then you've got all guns firing. Here's a young player who's doing everything that he needs to do offensively. That could be a sign that the market's going to take that very seriously, and they're taking it pretty seriously right now at these prices. But as they continue to trend lower, I'm going to wait on getting any high grade Bichette at least. So full disclosure, I've bought a lot of his other stuff, and I really like him. So I'm paying up for him. But as far as that PSA 10, I would just say maybe wait just a touch here. So it might not work out for you. Full disclosure here. So Fernando Tatis is my number 2 shortstop on the board. Again, another very young player putting up some more. He had some injuries here. One, health. Let's say there's health reasons. He's had two partial seasons. One, I think he broke his wrist or something like that, and the other, they didn't play because of COVID. That's how it goes here. He's putting up ridiculous levels of WAR, and when he does play, he's been an elite player with 149, 150 weighted runs created. High BABIP player here. So as that has come down, you've seen 410. You look for some regression. We got the regression 306. Might be where he's at. Is he a 280 player? 280 hitter with 30 home runs, and can he do that for a while? He needs to average 3.8 WAR over the next decade plus to really be on that Hall of Fame track. He's doing everything he can do at this point. He doesn't have any top 10 MVPs. I would imagine that changes in the next few days here. He doesn't have any All-Star games because, again, hurt and no All-Star games, so not his fault, but he could easily have two. So he's doing everything you need to do, and he's being priced commensurately. His 2019 Series 2 is about $165 in that PSA 10, and we've got Carletter has some information on him here. So he had this a lot of accumulation. People have just been buying, and then you had to break up. Then you had a few people buying, and so never buy into these spikes here. When you see these things start to get away from you, just let it go. And the prices started to trend down. There's been accumulation on the way down. I think you're starting to see a ton in this area here. So the downtrend has kind of been broken, and you'll start to see some accumulation. And next year, if he puts together that full season, as he starts to put together full season, starts hitting, does that right out of the gates, this thing could come back up to $200 without much issue here. So I was hoping to see $100, $125. Can't speak much. $100 to $125. To really to take a shot at it, but may not get that chance. This could run back up to $200, and you could see him start to follow in the mold of number one, who is Francisco Lindor. So he'll be 27 at the start of next season. He's accumulated 29 WAR, and so again, Jeter was at that 19 WAR at age 25. He's doing everything that you really need to do, and people are starting to take him real seriously. So I don't have a chart of his cards, unfortunately. I imagine that will happen in the near future, as everybody's going to start taking him seriously. But I know that I was buying some of his stuff 2 years ago, 2018 or whatever. You could get PSA 9s for $8. You could get a gold for 40 or 50, and so the prices right now for our PSA 10 in this 2015 update series is close to $200, as people recognize that this is a legit player, a guy that came up young and just started producing and hasn't really looked back. So averaging 5, here's a 7 WAR season, 4.5 WAR. His weighted runs created has been elite level just once. He was an average player this year. I think Cleveland fans would say maybe below average. But imagine if he goes to the Yankees or the Mets or something like that, and as the Indians look to move him, I mean, these cards are going to go up even more. So, defensive wizard, offensive, just been really, really amazing. 30 home runs. All of it is completely attainable, not a ridiculously, probably a low BABIP overall. So there's room for this to go up just a little, his average to go up just a little bit. But he's doing everything you need him to do at this point, and so that's why his prices are being reflected. So again, you're looking at about $200 for a PSA 10 on his. You might want to consider getting a raw. If you look at some of these other guys that have on a really well-defined Hall of Fame track, if you look like the Freddie Freemans and spoiler like the Mookie Betts and things of that nature, I mean, these cards are $250, $300, $400, and he's going to kind of settle into that range if he keeps this going. So let's move over to the spreadsheet overall. So there's my top 7. We'll throw a bonus guy in here at the end. So bringing over the spreadsheet, and this isn't for shouldn't buy or definitely buy or anything like that. This is just to look at like the price relative. If a guy's on track, there should be a certain price depending on the track that they're on. So here's the top 2, Lindor and Tatis. They've got a better shot than most, and they're being priced like it. So until they prove otherwise, you kind of got to roll with it. So again, I'd like to get Tatis a little younger because he's a little lower because he's young, but it may not happen. Then you've got the guys that are kind of in that 4.5 area. And the prices, there's some variance here. Correa should be a little bit more expensive. Maybe Seager comes back down a little bit, but it seems like $50, $60 is the going rate here. And then you've got the guys that are a little bit more speculative, like the Bogaerts, the Castro, and the Horners of the world. Bogart should be a little bit more expensive than these guys because he's got the track record. These guys are completely speculative. They haven't done a whole lot here. Willie Castro, 450 BABIP, 350 average. if you really have to have a high grade Willie Castro, wait and wait for that to regress a little bit in the next year, and you should be able to get him a bit cheaper. Although $20, what the heck, what are you going to do? So then you have to get to the next tier where you have to average over 5 WAR, and can they do it? That's a high bar. They didn't really leave themselves a lot of room to have a couple awesome seasons and then fall off. They need to have a bunch of awesome seasons and then maybe have a 4 WAR season. So there's a little bit more work to be done for the Ahmed Rosarios of the world, and they're priced like it here. So again, you want to look at $20-$30. Trevor Story, I just haven't seen a lot of examples of his PSA 10. He does have the top 10 MVP, a couple All-Star games under his belt. So he should probably be, a $40 player, but I'm seeing like $200. I'm like, that doesn't look right at all. You can get his raw for like 5 or 6, and maybe that's the way to go on that one until there's a little bit of a clarity on his thing. So he's already 27 years old. He needs a high level of WAR. His defense has been really good. His offense has been terrific. Above average player, no question about it. Trey Turner, kind of the same boat here. Elite level year. With his offense and defense. Just an incredible season for, defense wasn't that good, I guess, but incredible season for Trey Turner overall. But he does have to average a high level of WAR. His 2016 card goes for $50. So I think $30 to $40, depending on the player here. Javi Baez, David Fletcher, again, probably overpriced. Trevor Story. Yeah, I don't even know what's going on there. Trey Turner probably overpriced, but he had an incredible year, so there's a recency bias here. Then you get into the guys in the red here, and a combination of their age and WAR that they need to acquire the rest of the way is maybe just too much to be, to have that eternal demand. So you can have excellent seasons in here, but don't buy those price spikes. Just try and keep it to $20-$30. Tim Anderson's card. Up there quite a bit here, but he's 27, hasn't accumulated a lot of WAR. He's been terrific the past couple of seasons, but is he going to be kind of that Jimmy Rollins player where what an incredible season, but you come up with 40 WAR or something like that and just no shot at the Hall of Fame, and those prices just come way back down. So have to wait a long time, but it might be worth waiting. So that's what I got for you. Hopefully this is useful. I like a lot of the guys in here. I think Xander Bogaerts for me is the one I'm going to look at the hardest here. I'll probably get a Correa example just to have it. And, when people are down the most, that's when you got to hold your nose and buy, I think. And then the rest of these guys, I think I'll be happy with my raw. So anyways, that's what I got for you. Have a great rest of the day, and thanks for watching.